questions will be asked until time runs out and you are told by the mediator. Each question should be answered in different order. So question 1 will be answered by candidate A, question 2 will be answered by candidate B, and so on. After all questions have been answered or we run out of time, the mediator will give each candidate 2 minutes for closing remarks. And with that, who would like to start first?
1, 2, 3 order. Who wants it?
First? No. Who wants to go second? We'll just go this way then after Stephanie. Does that sound alright?
Yep.
That way it's like
Stephanie's 1.
Yes.
And then Camden?
Yep.
Okay, and then Drew. Alright.
And we got an hour before the vice president, or the president starts, so whenever you're ready.
Alright. You guys had these questions, right? So, some questions? No?
This is the first one, basically what the vice president does.
Okay, so here, we'll go with this. What do you feel the vice president of ASNMU does? Stephanie.
Well, obviously, there's the duties of stepping up in the case that your president has a leave of absence or, heaven forbid, does resign. Assisting your president in her duties, and then also serve as the chair of appointments committee. Those are the basic ones, but also I feel that the vice president too should have their own voice, getting out there and being known, and yeah.
Okay. All right, Camden.
Same question?
Same question.
Okay.
Do you want me to say it again?
Sure.
Okay. What do you feel the vice president of ASNMU does?
I feel that the vice president of ASNMU, firstly, if elected, appoints for different positions according to the school's different departments. Obviously, following whoever your president may be and all of their goals. A lot of promotion and a lot of awareness in your part, and ideally, if you do have a decent agenda as a vice president, getting out there and making some more smaller changes that may not be the president's work.
Okay. Drew?
Well, of course, the vice president, I think, has a job being the head of appointments committee, which is very important, very vital to ASNMU. But at the same time, aside from appointments committee just sitting on the committee itself, I think the vice president should be more out on campus trying to recruit students to want to be a part of ASNMU, to show them why ASNMU is worth being a part of. For example, getting more involvement in the down campus area, or having more reps do office hours in Starbucks so that more people see them, can ask questions, get to know more about ASNMU, and then they'll apply because they're interested. Getting people on campus to even see ASNMU, to try and figure out what it is that ASNMU does, to want them to get involved is a huge portion. But then I also think in the aspect of helping the president, not just being there if the president can't, do his or her duties, but helping the president create a plan of action and helping the president to come up with, ways to meet that plan of action, adequate solutions to student problems. Helping the president figure out what it is that they want to set on their agenda and how they want to implement it the following year.
Okay. I can't imagine anybody has a rebuttal that. Do you? No? Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Camden, you first.
Okay.
Okay. If you are voted in as vice president, what is the #1 thing you would like to see ASNMU accomplish?
I guess for accomplishments, in a broad sense, I would like to see ASNMU work more towards a cleaner integration throughout campus and its departments. It does feel that Northern is kind of detached depending on where you are on campus. And I think through simple projects and creative projects with heads from all departments, we can create activities that aren't just kind of few-hour hit and miss, but something that's going to stick with the students. Create things that are memorable for the students. That's the only way we could get them to recognize what we're doing. And if it's possible, I would like to see certain groups, perhaps like from the biology department, integrate with people from the art department, come up with some sweet ideas to fill maybe excess spaces we have on campus. Utilize the areas we have better, more efficiently. If we could do that, Northern may feel more cohesive as a group, and that would obviously bring a lot of attention to ASNMU.
Okay, thanks. Drew?
Well, something I would like to personally see, and something I would work for as Vice President, would be more student engagement at ASNMU. And the way I think you do that is by expanding students' opportunities to be a part of ASNMU and to see what ASNMU does and to have a voice in ASNMU. That's something I'd like to see, more student voices in ASNMU. Give them the choice. It's their student government. It's not the people who only get elected. It's not their student government. It's everybody's student government. So what I'd like to see is more attendance at hall government meetings, some enforcement in that area. I'd like to see the committees that me and Justin are talking about, for example, setting up a committee that students can sit on and have a say in how ASNMU is spending their money, or how ASNMU is doing on projects, and whether or not they're doing those projects effectively. Another thing, of course, like I mentioned before, would be the Starbucks table, and getting ASNMU reps in those public places, and giving students the opportunity to see their reps and talk to their reps and voice their concerns. I'd also like to see more things done on campus. We've been talking about cleaning up the recycling and jammerage for years on ASNMU, but it hasn't happened. That's something I really want to try and implement next year, get better recycling and jammerage. I'd like to, me and Justin would like to clean up the LRC. There's some parts of the LRC that I'm sure everybody's aware of in here are kind of gross. So we'd like to see what we can do to get those places cleaned up on campus and make it better for students. And I'd like to give students more of a voice. Like me and Justin are proposing to bring back the ASNMU Help program, which is a program which allows people to use our website to write their legislator in their own way. Along with that, also doing call tables and other things where students can voice their opinions to Lansing, but do it in their own way. So it's more student involvement overall.
Stephanie?
I would have to agree with Drew. I do think that there needs to be more student involvement. We need to get the average student to know that they do have a voice, know that they can come to ASNMU reps, and that we are willing to help them in their concerns and their needs. Personally, I think I am the average student. I'm not a poli-sci major, nothing like that, and I feel the need for ASNMU to have a face instead of just knowing there's an office. They're basically a political group is what I thought of them before. I think that we need to educate our student body and let them know they do have a voice.
Okay, any rebuttals? All right, Drew, you're up on this one. Why is ASNMU a needed organization on campus?
I think ASNMU is needed because it is vital to have that organization there that is the voice for students, whether it be with administration, whether it be down in Lansing, or in the Marquette community. I think there's a lot of potential for ASNMU to do this. I think we need to look at the areas where ASNMU is the weakest and try to lift those areas up so that ASNMU can fulfill its obligations to be that voice for students. Like I said, I do believe there's a lot of potential, and me and Justin are hoping to implement what we think is the best way to lift up those sore spots in ASNMU and make it so that ASNMU can fulfill that role as the voice for students in the community down in Lansing and here on campus with administration.
Okay, Stephanie?
Right now, I feel as if ASNMU isn't needed on campus because I feel that they haven't really stepped up and done much. I do think that through change, we can improve, like Drew said, the weakened areas, and that yes, it is needed. It's needed because this is our voice.